This is the seventh lesson on Aticca Samuppada. Today we are going to focus on volitional activities. In Pali it's called Sankhara. The word Sankara actually is untranslatable into any language because it involves number of things. We will see the definition later on. But before that I must say Sankhara means preparation, arranging, facelifting, if you like, a makeup, dressing, redressing, repairing, preparing, like when actors are going to act on a stage, they put on various kind of dresses. Today, the thief, next movie, appears as a judge. So he changes his dress, changes his face, put new color, put new wigs, and new dress and so forth. All these are called Sankharas. Just imagine how many things are involved in the word Sankhara. And therefore it is not easy to translate into any language in one word like Pali. That is why I say Pali is very rich Dhamma language. One word can give a whole host of meanings. And therefore I prefer using the word Sankhara. The popular word translated into English word is conditions. Conditions. All that I mentioned earlier are conditions. So, you will see whatever suffering originates is all conditioned by volitional activities. With the cessation of volitional activities, there is no origination of suffering. In Pali, Yankinchi dukkhang sambhoti sabbang sankhara paccaya sankharanang nirodena natti dukkhassa sambhavoti. Yankinchi dukkhang, whatever suffering, sambhoti originates, sambhava means arising. Sabbang, all, sankhara paccaya, depending on conditions. So translated into English, conditioned by volitional activities. Volitional activities is the word we have to use safely in this series of discussions, because as I say, Sankara has so many meanings. All these are Sankara, and yet for our discussion, for this dependent origination teaching, where the suffering is focused, Sankara is volitional activities. So therefore, in this particular context, the meaning of Sankara must be understood depending or according to the context. Otherwise, we will get bewildered, confused. We will have more ignorance. Therefore, you can see the difference between Sankara in general and Sankara specific. This is specific Sankara. Then Sankharana Nirodhena. Nirodha means cessation. Sankharanam of Sankara. Natti dukkhasa sambhavati. When there are no volitional activities, there are no suffering. We will discuss this also later. What is the volitional activities? Volitional activities are chetana, kamma. So Sankara also means kamma. Then next stanza, when one has known this danger, suffering is conditioned by volitional activities, by the stilling of all volitional activities, by the stopping of perceptions, the destruction of suffering occurs. When one has known this as it really is. So, we will discuss this more detail later. When one has known this danger, what is the danger? Danger of Sankara is suffering. Danger of Sankara is suffering. That means danger of volitional activities is suffering. No question about it. We will discuss why and how it happens. Suffering is conditioned by volitional activity. By the stilling of all volitional activities, by the stopping of perceptions. Now, volitional activities are related to perception, vijnana. The destruction of suffering occurs when one has known this as it really is. What one should know as it really is the connection between Sankara and suffering. And when Sankara ceases, suffering ceases. Right here we can see the original dependent origination formula. What is the original dependent origination formula? We must remember that formula all the time. Just like a chorus in a song. When this is, this is. When this arises, this arises. When this is not, this is not. When this passes away, this passes away. That is the Paticca Samuppada formula. For instance, when one has known this as it really is, what is this as it really is? When this arises, this arises. That is the reality. When I gave several examples in the past, when greed arises, what arises along with that? Suffering arises. As greed arises, suffering also simultaneously arises. Proportionate to that. That always, if the greed is 20%, suffering 20%, proportionate. As greed increases, suffering increases. As greed reduces, suffering reduces. When greed completely vanishes, suffering completely vanishes. That is the real dependent origination formula. There is no one outside with this formula to make it happen. It happens by itself. So don't point your finger at any particular person, situation, individuals, countries, nations, and so on. Don't try to point your finger at anything outside. Look at yourself inside, introspectively, and ask this question: why this suffering is in me? Because I have greed. When there is greed, what else arises? When there is greed, suffering arises. But greed cannot arise by itself. Greed also depends on something else. Ignorance. Greed arises, ignorance arises. Ignorance arises, greed arises. You see, that this is 100% true. You don't need a religion to understand this. You don't need a teacher to tell you. You don't need parents to tell you, or friends to tell you. Pacchattam veta, look at inside, come and see inside. You will see this truth. So, etamadinam jnatva dukkham sankhara paccaya sabba sankhara samatha sanyaya uparodhana evan dukkha kayo hoti etang jnatva yata tatang. Etang jnatva yata tatang. That is what we said earlier. Evam adinamam jnatva. Adinama means danger. What is the opposite of adinava? Asada. Asada is enjoyment. Adinava is danger. Every enjoyment has a danger. Every enjoyment has a... Enjoyment never comes alone. Enjoyment comes with the danger. What is the danger?
It's passing away. It passes away.
It passes away and then suffering arises. When enjoyment passes away, suffering arises. So, and that is what I say, pleasure comes with pain. You buy one, get one free. This is what I repeat always. You buy one, get one. If free one comes, naturally you don't have to struggle. You struggle to get the pleasure. But the pleasure comes with pain. I have no time to tell all these thousands of things are there to say. See, then Sabba Sankara Samatha. Samatha means bringing to peace. Samatha. You establish peace. Sanya Uparodhana. Sanya means perception, cessation of sanya. Evan dukkha kayo hoti. Evan jnatva yatha tatham. Yatha tatham means as it really is. Jnatva having not. Dukkha kaya means end of suffering. Seeing rightly the masters of knowledge, the wise one having correctly known this, overcome the yoke of Mara and do not come back to renewed existence. Seeing rightly the masters of knowledge. We are masters of knowledge. Sankara, what do you call it? Sanya Uparodhana. Next one. Okay. Sammadasa Veda Guno. Sammadasa Veda Guno. Sammadanyaya Pandita. Sabbadasa. The seeing rightly. Veda Guno. The knowledge master. Veda means knowing. Sammadanya, danyaya pandita. Pandita means pandits also know. Sammadanya, having completely understood. Abhibhuya marasang yogam. Abhibhuya means suppressed, overcome. Marasang yoga. Yoga means yoke, binding. Mara means evil one. Actually, Mara here means leave alone all the legendary stories about Mara. Mara here means another series of mental states that obstruct our attainment of liberation. All the obstruction that blocks our path, make us blurry, unclear, confused. All these mental states are called Mara. In Sutta Nipata, Buddha has given the list of 10 Maras. All the 10 are mental states. At this point, since my time is very short, I want to finish this lesson. I don't want to go into that Mara, list of Mara. I will talk about it later on some other time. Okay. Three kinds of formations. We learned these three kinds of formations: bodily formation, verbal formation, mental formations. Kaya Sankara, Vachi Sankara, Chitta Sankara. We discussed this earlier in several lessons. Kaya Sankara means bodily formation, in and out breathing. Breath is called Kaya Sankara. Why it is called Kaya Sankara? Because it brings oxygen to the body to keep us alive. Without oxygen, this body will not function. All of us, we don't have the very special scientific knowledge, but common sense tells us that if there is no oxygen, we will die. No matter what else we have, if there is no oxygen, we die. And therefore, oxygen brings into the body through the breathing. Therefore, breath is called body conditioner. Verbal conditioner means perceptions and feelings.
Verbal would be...
I'm sorry. Verbal conditions mean vitakka vichara. Initial thought, application thought, and so forth are said in English. But vitakka really means thinking. There are three types of vitakka. Kama vitakka, vyapada vitakka, vihimsa vitakka. Kama vitakka, thought of sense pleasure, thought of anger or resentment, vyapada vitakka, and thought of hurting. Thought of hurting. This is negative side. Positive side is nekkhamma vitakka, avyapada vitakka, avihimsa vitakka. Nekkhamma vitakka means thought of letting go. Avyapada vitakka means thought of loving friendliness, metta. Avihimsa vitakka means thought of compassion. These are the 6 kind of vitakkas. They are called sankappa and so forth. Now these are verbal conditioners. Why are they called verbal conditioners? Because we have to think first before we express. when we want to express something about greed, kama means desire, to see something, hear something, smell something, taste something, touch something and so forth, the thought arises in the mind first. And then we say, I love you. The thought arises in the mind first. And then you say, I love you. Thought arises in the mind and then you say, I hate you. And so forth. Thought arises in the mind, then you say, I give up. Thought arises in the mind, I hurt you. And so forth. Thought arises in the mind first, and then we express it. And therefore, in reality, real sankharas are verbal conditioners. Real sankharas are verbal conditioners. In the verbal conditioners, we have desire, anger, and thought of cruelty, or letting go, loving friendliness, and compassion. And these are the thoughts that arise in the mind, and these are the thoughts we express in words and deeds. These are thoughts we express in deeds, and therefore, real verbal condition, sankharas are, active sankharas are these verbal conditioners.
Bhante, why do you use the word real? When you say real, what does that mean?
I'm sorry, I think I want to say the specific conditions. In this case, as I mentioned earlier, Sankar we must understand according to the context. In this context, Sankar is verbal condition. In general, Sankar means anything. But anything doesn't come to our discussion because they are not bringing us suffering. The conditions of Sankara that we talked about are that which brings suffering. For instance, this table is here, it is Sankara. It doesn't bring us any particular suffering unless of course it is in our way of walking somewhere. Trees are there, clouds are, all are Sankharas. Sun is Sankara, moon is Sankara. They have indirect effect on us, but they don't cause us to commit karma. Okay, indirectly they are. Indirectly they also are helping us to commit karma. For instance, when there is no sunlight, always dark, grim, hazy, people become depressed. At the depressed state of mind, they say nasty things. Right? And therefore they also are directly affecting our life. But we must take initiative within ourselves to make the commitment. And therefore what we initially take in ourselves are real sankharas. Others are sankharas in general, but specific sankharas are what we are directly related to. And mental sankharas, so mental formation, chitta sankhara, sanya, vedana, perceptions and feeling. And perception and feeling also sankharas in relation to dependent origination, because we form our words and thoughts depending on our perception, depending on our feelings, and therefore they are also directly related to our sankhara. And then the Buddha gives us definition of sankhara. I spoke in general what Sankharas are. Buddha is very specific in everything. He says, and why because do you call them volitional formations? They construct the condition because therefore they are called volitional formations. And what is the condition that they construct? They construct condition form as form. They construct condition feeling as feeling. They construct condition perception as perception. They construct condition volitional formations as volitional formations. They construct condition consciousness as consciousness. They construct the conditioned because therefore they are called volitional formations. Now, conditioned ending with ed is sankhata. Sankhata. Conditions are called sankara. You have to remember the difference. Sankara is conditions. Conditioned are the product of Sankara. That which is already existing as thing. So, condition, they construct the condition. For instance, the body, Buddha said, Sankara. And what is the condition? Condition that they construct. They construct conditioned form as form. Let us take form, our form. This is conditioned, already there. It is already there. Now we condition this with other conditions. What are they? We make our hair, make up our lips, nails, skin, dress, beard, various things. When we put on all these things, these are sankharas. And we eat food, drink, and we see things. From all these things, this body is reconditioning. We are reconditioning to make it appear good, to make it remain strong, to make it healthy, and so for so many other things are the things we do to recondition this body. Therefore, this condition, the conditions that recondition the conditioned are called Sankara.
Bhante, is it conditioned because of you have a volition? Is that why it is conditioned?
Yes. Yes.
So, person has to have volition, otherwise there
It
is...
doesn't happen automatically, yes. Yes. They construct conditioned forms as form. We maintain our form in spite of it's going against our wish. We condition this. Every day we condition by eating, drinking, sleeping, moving, dressing, making up, and so forth and so on. We condition it. Otherwise this body would not exist. And therefore all these things that we do to maintain this body as it is are called sankharas. Yeah.
Would that be going to the doctor, getting a flu shot?
All this. Flu shot or measles shot or, whatever name you give, hepatitis shot or whatever.
Getting a tan.
Huh?
Getting a tan.
Yeah, scan, brain scan and heart scan, X-rays and all this. All these are conditions that conditions this conditioned body. See, the see how much is involved in conditions to recondition this conditioned body. Similarly, it is good that you ask me questions like this, because this opens our mind to see how far conditions go. This is not some kind of abstract thing put in the cupboard and have theories. This is something happening to us every single moment, every single day. So in this wider sense, we must understand the word Sankhara. Then they construct conditioned feeling as feeling. You see, I don't want to have only one kind of feeling. I want to listen to music, to have different feeling. I want to see object, to have a different feeling. Object means people, places, animals, water, planes, countries, thousands of millions of things I want to see, have different feelings. There is, when the senses and sensory objects come together, consciousness arises, then feeling arises. Consciousness arises, then contact arises, then feeling arises. That feeling we renew by looking at different things, eating different things, smelling different things, meeting different people, going to different places, and so on. We renew our feelings. And therefore all those things that we do to have different feelings are conditions, sankharas. Then they construct the condition perception and perception, conditioned perception. Perception is already conditioned and we want to recondition it. I think we better use the word reconditioning. We are reconditioning our cars to sell and get a better price. So similarly we recondition whatever we have already. Then perception. They construct conditioned volitional formations as volitional formations. Our thoughts, we are not thinking only the same flat thinking. Our thinking goes ups and down, and we want to have a different type of thinking. And therefore we do all sorts of things to change our way of thinking. Therefore they are sankharas. And then perception, volitional formation, then consciousness. Similarly, so what Buddha defined, how the Buddha defined the word condition is so broad, so deep and all-encompassing definition. Nothing precluded from this definition. Meaning, we have 5 aggregates, all are conditioned, and we do so many other things to recondition these conditioned aggregates, in short. Then, characteristic of sankharas. How do we identify sankharas? How do we know? We know sankharas. There are 3 characteristics of sankharas. They are coming into existence, reaching their peak and passing away. Since we don't pay attention to them, we don't see these 3 characteristics. We experience changes in our bodies only when we pay attention to them. They all have beginning, middle and end, as everything that exists goes through this process. We cannot find the first beginning of Sankara. This is my comment. In the Buddha's teaching, Everything exists depending on something else. There is no one single entity that can exist by itself. Can never happen. People may have all kind of beliefs. We cannot argue with beliefs. Because if somebody says, this is my belief, okay, that person is entitled to have the belief. But when it comes to reality, we all must agree that nothing can exist by itself. Nothing. If there is anything, you let me know. I give up my conviction and accept your what you call conclusion. Okay? But everything has a Buddha said, Teenimana bhikkhave sankatasa sankata lakrani katamani tini uppado panyayati vayo panyayati titasa anyatattang panyayati. There are three marks of Sankara. Uppado, by arising, is discernible. Arising is discernible. Vayo panyayati, passing away, is discernible. Tithasa anyatattang panyayati, the alteration or changing or mutation of what exists is discernible. What exists does not exist static. What exists is existing while changing. Uppado panyayati, vayo panyayati, tithasa anyatattang panyayati. Arising is discernible, understandable, visible. Passing away is discernible. And what is called existing is changing or altering, mutating by itself all the time. Yeah?
Bhante, and this includes rebirth.
Everything. Everything. I don't want to get involved in that because that is another big subject. We postpone it to some other time. Okay? I try to we spend so many classes discussing avidya, ignorance. And this is the second step of the noble, what you call dependent origination. This is the 7th lesson. And even this I cannot finish today because there are so many things to say about Sankara. So,
Three types of Sankara. Three characteristics.
Three characteristics of Sankara. If you find anything, these days people study or talk about particle physics. This is a particle physics. She is studying particle physics. You tell me, I'm not challenging, of course, I don't know anything about it, but according to this teaching, even there, you don't find anything static. No, right?
Yeah.
You are right. I am right. Not I am right, Buddha right.
Yeah.
I am just repeating the Buddha's words. I don't know anything about these things. So, nothing can exist without changing. We say particle physics or quark or subatomic particle. I even have heard these names, but I don't know nothing about them. But they all must go through these three characteristics. Rising, passing, and what is in between, changing. And therefore, this is another concept I don't want to discuss. Sankhara and the Sankara. All conditioned things and all conditioning things in general are Sankharas. Everything in this sense is Sankara. Nothing is precluded from this meaning of Sankhara. In Samyutta Nikaya, the Buddha compared Sankara to banana tree. Since banana trees are not commonly available all over the world, in order to make the meaning universally clear, I have used the simile of onion, which is on and on with I in the middle. This is a puzzle. If you ask somebody, without telling all these things, you simply ask, what is the word on and on with I in the middle? They will scratch their head, they don't know what to say. It simply means onion. Sankara is like onion. Why is that? You don't find the heart or core, hard core in it. Like a tree has a heart, hard wood. And in onion you don't find a hard part. Everything is peelable, you can peel. Sankara is like that. When you keep superficially, when you look at it, for instance, this body, when you look at the body, it seems like one solid unit, solid being. But when you very closely examine this body, there is no solidity in it. No solidity. It is moving minute particles, subatomic particles, moving, always moving. And therefore, Sankara Buddha compared to such a moving and yet appearing solid something. Yeah? It's a very beautiful term. Moving but appearing solid object. Therefore, all five aggregates are Sankara. Then, Sankara, basis of Sankara is consciousness. You can read this section easily. I think it is in your handout. Intention, plans, thinking becomes the basis for the support, establishment and maintenance of consciousness. This is you can see Samyutta Nikaya, but I wanted to economize our time, so I did not put Pali here. Intention, plans, thinking becomes the basis for support, establishment and maintenance of consciousness. Even the consciousness cannot exist without Sankhara. So, consciousness exists depending on intention, depending on plans, depending on thinking. And they support consciousness, otherwise does not exist. The future renewed existence is based on the established consciousness. So consciousness established on thinking, intention, plans and thinking, and the future existence based on that established consciousness. Consciousness established in those things, and depending on future existence, depending on that consciousness. And in Anguttara Nikaya, in some place it is said, consciousness is the seed, vijnanam bijam, kamman kettam. and tanna sineho. Consciousness is the seed, kamma is the field, and craving is the moisture. When these three combine together, existence takes place. Future, therefore, the future birth, growth, decay, death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair also are based on consciousness. We will discuss this later on. Today, our subject is
brief. The consciousness cannot exist without Sankhara.
Sankara,
They're mutual.
mutual supporting.
Bhante, would you kindly clarify very briefly I know there's the three characteristics of Sankara, the arising, the changing, and the passing away. But can you just briefly say, if it passes away, what gets renewed?
What it renews?
What gets renewed? So it arises, changes is in the middle, and then passes away. And if everything keeps moving and changing, is it, and then if it right after passes away, so
You know, Jennifer, I mentioned earlier, we have enough ignorance and craving, desire to exist. You see, craving and desire, craving, desire, all these are similar words, tanna and so forth, on the one hand. On the other is ignorance. Ignorance is not knowing, not seeing the reality. Reality means, ignorance, reality means, we don't see impermanence, we don't see suffering, we don't see selflessness. Nobody knows all these things very clearly. So long as these three exist, they are the power that keep generating power. You see?
New Sankharas.
New Sankara.
renews it. Okay.
Now remember these three things. What are the three? Lobha, dosa, moha in Pali. Lobha is craving. Under craving you can bring up many words. Love, desire, wanting and so forth. In one word is lobha, tanha. Second is dosa. Dosa means resentment, anger, rejection and so forth. Moha means ignorance. Okay? When these three are the primary, these are primary roots. When these three roots exist, everything can be repeated.
It's a good thing or bad
Thank you,
thing?
Bhante.
Yeah?
I'm sorry, it's a good thing or bad thing?
What?
Those cravings.
Desire for Dhamma is wholesome.
No.
I mean, it doesn't create new inventions
But
because
also
your greediness,
But he's suffering.
You are asking,
He's suffering.
it is good or bad? Which is good or bad?
For
Craving?
the mankind.
Craving?
All those things.
Remind me, greed, hatred and delusion?
Yeah.
Good or bad?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I already explained all this time. What does greed do?
Suffering.
What does the greed do? Craving, greed.
Craving for more.
Craving for more. When you crave for more, are you happy?
It depends on the end result.
What is the end result?
Could be positive or negative.
Eh?
Positive or negative.
Eh?
Could be positive or negative. End result could be positive.
End result is always negative. You will never find positive results from greed. Positive result comes from non-greed. You see, this is very difficult to understand. When you want something, you get it.
Yeah.
Are you happy?
For a short
I
time.
mean, If I get it what I want, I'm happy.
Be careful. I ask you again, if you get what you want, are you happy?
Most of the time, yeah.
No, I don't qualify that. When you get what you want, are you happy?
Yeah.
Okay, you're happy. What happens if what you got changes? What happens?
Well, I try to change according to that change.
You are not going to change according to that. You are just for the argument to say that. But you are not going to change according to that. At that moment you will be very, very miserable, unhappy. Because you work very hard to get something. Once you got it and you lost it, you can say that you are happy. Suppose you got a car, you wanted to get a car. You met with an accident and then car is total. Are you happy?
In this world, could be yes.
What? What?
In this case,
Unless I don't get hurt, yeah, I would care because I have insurance.
My dear, very honest. When you spend your hard-earned money to buy a very expensive good car, and you love that, you want to drive it, you want to keep it and show yourself off and tell others, I have such and such a beautiful, expensive car and so forth. With all this in mind, you buy the car. And next day it met with an accident. You say, you are happy?
Couldn't maybe not care, because when you buy a car, in this world, you have insurance, so there's no worry. Unless you get,
What did you feel like when you were paying the insurance?
well, it depends on. Now, maybe it will go up or it will stay same.
Your insurance, what is it, he knows that? He worked in the car company.
That's what it is.
Because he knows everything about cars before he became a monk in Michigan. So, your insurance premium goes up.
Are you happy?
Are you happy? And you have to pay more, and then you have to work harder to earn money to pay higher premium. It involves so many other problems when you lost the car. What happened? Originally you said when you get what you want, you never expected all these things to come along with that. You cannot think in a very linear way. You have to think of widely. So many other things are involved into making your life happy with the good car. So many other things. You are not living in a vacuum. And therefore, so many other things are around to affect our life, and we have no way to control them. We have no way to control. And therefore, to get what one wants is not happy. Not to get what one wants also is not happy. Not to get what one wants is suffering. To get what one wants also is suffering. There is no winning game. These are two tragedies in life. Two tragedies.
Laws of samsara.
Eh?
The laws of samsara.
It is a law of dependent origination. It's a law.
At the end you lose.
Then, what?
at the end you lose anyways.
We lose. At the end we lose. Therefore, the winning way is to reduce our desire, not to increase the desire. There's a beautiful saying in Udana. Ko atto udapanena ආපාචේ සබ්බදා සියුම් තණ්හාය මූලතෝ චෙත්වා කිස්ස පරියේසනං චරේ. what is the use of a well if water is available everywhere? Anytime, if water is available everywhere, what is the use of a well? Similarly, when craving is completely gone, destroyed, eliminated, why should we search for what we are searching for? When the craving is completely gone, what do we search for? What are we searching for?
We can be at peace, you know.
Peace,
We
no
don't
search.
search.
All you
No
have
search.
peace.
Like
Peace.
we're content.
Stillness.
So this is the goal that we try to achieve through understanding the Dhamma, the truth. It is very easy to increase our greed and get involved in the same treadmill. You see? Going through the same thing again and again and again, never learning anything from our mistakes. We keep repeating. That is the samsara. So we want to get out of samsara. This Sankhara is our backpack for samsara. You know, when bigger the backpack, longer we go. So we have to reduce the backpack to reduce our samsara. That is what we have to learn. So, but bhikkhus, Buddha says, when one does not intend and one does not plan, one does not have a tendency towards anything, no basis exists for the maintenance of consciousness. When there is no basis, there is no support for the establishing consciousness. When consciousness is unestablished and does not come to growth, there is no production of future renewed existence. Answering Jennifer's question, no future renewed existence. When there is no production for future renewed existence, for the future birth, aging, deaths, and death, sorrow, lamentation, pain, displeasure and despair cease. Such is the cessation of this whole mass of suffering. So we learn the dependent origination to see how suffering arises and how suffering ceases. Now, thousands of things are there. I want to remind everybody, learn the Dhamma. Learn the Dhamma, not to cling to it. Even the Dhamma, wholesome, noble Dhamma, should be used just like a raft. When you use a raft, you use it to cross a body of water. Once cross the body of water, you let the raft go. You don't carry it on your shoulder. There's a beautiful discourse in Majjhima Nikaya about Alagadupama Sutta. Alagaddu, I'm going to give a talk next week on that.
October 26th.
October 26th. October 5th we start. My talk is on the 6th.
Oh, for the Sutta?
Sutta class.
October 6th.
Yeah. I gave one.
Studies retreat.
Sutta study retreat.
On the 5th. I thought it was the 5th.
I give my talk in the morning, maybe 1 hour longer. Not only talking. We read the sutta. Everybody who participate in it, read the sutta, think about it, discuss among themselves, and come to the class. And then we will all can contribute something positive, productive to the class. In the afternoon also I'm going to continue the same thing, only on this theme, not clinging to anything. This Dhamma we learn in order to reduce our suffering, not to cling to this Dhamma. Buddha said, Dhamma api bhikkhave pahatabba pageva adhamma. Bhikkhus, even the Dhamma should be let go, let alone adhamma. Therefore, we learn these things not to cling to this. We just learn to apply to our life to reduce our own suffering. Now, I think I want to continue this next class.
Next month, 26.
20,
26.
20,
October 26th.
26?
Yes.
Yeah. See, because so many interruptions are in between, and therefore we cannot have next week. So next class will be on the 26th of October. And see, and in the meantime, please read the handouts and read as many material as possible from your other readings.
I think you gave a lot of references over here.
Yeah. References are given there at the end. You read them and come to the next class, so that we all will be on the same page, so to say. Okay.
Bhante, I have a question.
Okay, what is your question?
So we started with like volitional formations, and then we somehow relate that to 5 aggregates. But volitional formation also in 5 aggregates.
5 aggregates, right.
Yeah, so how
Right.
do we relate that?
When we discuss 5 aggregates, volitional formations is one of them. That is the specific place of volitional formations. And in general, when you talk in general, as the duty or function of volitional formations, 5 aggregates also volitional, 5 aggregates all are what you call Sankaras. Buddha said, as remember, why are they called Sankara? Sankata, condition, they are conditioning, conditioned. 5 aggregates are the conditioned. We just finished discussing.
So it's like a subset then?
Yeah?
So is it correct to say this? The Sankara in volitional formation always produce karma. Sankara in 5 aggregates always produce karma.
I cannot answer that question in one word, yes or no.
Okay.
Because, as I said, all Sankaras don't produce karma.
Right.
For instance, inhaling as lily is Sankara. It doesn't produce karma. Only verbal Sankara, Vati Sankara, and Chitta Sankara can produce karma. Other Sankaras condition other Sankaras. Some other Sankaras like breathing, inhaling and exhaling are Sankaras. And these Sankaras condition other Sankara like body. And therefore we use the body to do karma. In that way, indirectly, inhaling and exhaling support the Sankara, but not directly.
So what is the reason that we're using the same translation in five aggregates and other Sankara? Is it in Pali? Is the same word, Sankara?
In Pali, volitional formations in the five aggregates and Sankara in general, volitional formations is the same.
Same.
Yeah.
But it has totally different meanings.
Not totally different, but related meaning.
It's like a superset and a subset.
Yeah.
A question, but it's more related to last week's lecture. Can I still ask? Last week you talked about Nama Rupa, and you explained, so Rupa is the four elements, and then Nama is Phassa, Vedana, Sanya, Chetana, Manaskara. So contact, feeling, consciousness, mental formation of thinking, and reflection. But then in the Paschimottanuppada, the order is not the same. Because here in Nama we have Vedana and then Sanya, consciousness. But in Paschimottanuppada, it comes first. And Vijnana is before Phassa. Why is the order not the same?
That order is Phassa, Vedana, Sanya, Chetana, Manasikara is given according to the way how it happens. Because Phassa, contact comes first. Only when contact comes first, feeling, perception, volition, and all these things arise. So, in this list, sometimes I mention Phassa first. In some other places we see Sanya. Sanya, Vedana, Chetana, Phassa, Manasikara. Sanya, what you call perception, recognition. Once you recognize something, then feeling, perception, feeling, and so forth arises. But in many places, we can see in like Madhupindika Sutta, Chakkuncha Paticca Rupecha Uppaji Chakku Vijnana, senses, eye, visual objects, depending on these things, consciousness arises, and then contact arises. Then feeling arises. Then perception arises. Then conceptual proliferation builds up in Madhupindika Sutta. And therefore this order is not a very, fixed order. Yeah, this order is just as when we talk about form, feeling, perception, thought and so forth. In that case, form is given first because it is more visible, more tangible. And even dependent origination, Buddha always didn't go through avidya, paccaya and so on. Sometimes when feeling, when he wants to talk about feeling, he straight away starts with feeling. Like Mahatanna Sankara Sutta, he started talking about the feeling first. And so forth, whatever subject comes up, from that we can develop entire dependent origination in ascending order or descending order. And therefore these things are not very sort of fixed lists.
Bhante, I know like one of the previous Buddha even didn't include the Sankhara, they just started with the third one, after ignorance and like some of the Buddhas even didn't start the teaching also, ignorance and Sankhara.
Actually even Vipassana Buddha, our Gautama Buddha reported to us that Vipassana Buddha started from birth and death. birth and death,
Wow.
the reverse order. And then we came to Nama Rupa. Then he said his consciousness doesn't go beyond Nama Rupa. Pachudavatati imam viññāna nama rupama naparangacchati. This consciousness does not go beyond mentality and materiality. It returns itself. And then he developed samudaya, vaya of all these things, rising, falling, and developed mindfulness. And through mindfulness he attained enlightenment. Vipassi Buddha reported that. And therefore, this is the beauty of this thing. It is just like a cycle. Cycle, you can start from any place from the cycle. Because cycle doesn't have a beginning. This is called Samsara Chakra. Chakra means wheel. On the wheel, you cannot find a beginning. Any place is a beginning. Any place can go backward or forward. It's the same.
But you can see the cause and effect. Cause and effect. That is possible to see, but not the beginning and end,
Not beginning and end. I mentioned sometimes ago, when you have a circle, since you cannot find a beginning, all your geometric knowledge you apply to find the beginning, you cannot find. You can find radius and diameter, circumference and so on, but not the beginning of a circle. To find the beginning of a circle, you draw a line. When you draw a line, that is the beginning, and come back to it, that is the end. You can draw that line anytime, any place of the circle. Similarly, dependent origination, you can start from any place, because it doesn't matter which place you start. It shows the same thing. Depending on something else arises. You can go forward or backward. Sankara, world are given as Vatta. Vatta means Sankhara, Vatta. Vatta means circle. I think this is enough.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.